We're on. Oh, wait, my head's cut off. There, Danilo. Sorry, I didn't give you a chance to get me set up. Oh, there you go. Always makes me dizzy when you zoom that fast, Danilo. That's just a little TV joke. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. Great. Good. Looking around. Everybody's smiling but Aiden. And Granger maybe. Doing all right, Granger?
I'm good.
Okay, awesome. How about you, Aiden?
Yeah.
Everything okay? Good. We have gotten to that point where there's not much time in the semester left. I always say it's not over until somebody's in my office crying, and I haven't had that yet. So it's not really over, but I expect that to happen in the next week or so. Hopefully it won't be too bad, whatever it is. We always say there's no crisis in higher education except an active shooter or a student who's down for some reason or another, sick, something happened. Everything other than that, we can work on it. We can work together on it. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Speaking of active shooters, I almost made a really bad joke there, but it was no good to do that. They just had one on Florida State's campus, I noticed. And do we all know what to do when there's an active shooter? What's your three rule thing?
Run, hide, fight.
Run, hide, fight. Very good. Either you get out of there as fast as you can, get in a secure place, or use whatever you can to fight back. Now, what about the running? How do you do that?
Get as far away from the building.
But when you run, how do you run?
Quickly.
What's that? Quickly? Yes, quickly. That's a good one.
I heard of a zigzag.
Zigzag. That's what I was looking for there. So you run like this, because that makes you a hard target. And so if you're a hard target, somebody's going to give up on you because there's a limited amount of time for them, and they're going to go to somebody who's just like, walking in a straight line. So yeah, zigzag. And these are horrible things to talk about. Like who wants that in part of your life? Well, not me, but it is part of our life. And so at some moment you might be confronted with it. Let's move on to more pleasant subjects though, which is your next and almost final speech, except for the final exam day when you have to be in here. And that'll be an easy one. This is our inspiring person talk. And this is where you're going to be thinking about someone who has inspired you. And specifically inspired you because of what they have also been through. And so I'm going to talk about a couple people, or maybe a few people. I think that a historic figure could work. I really don't have students do historic figures. But if you had somebody that was just so important to you that you just had to make it all about them, then I suppose that would be all right. But I prefer actual people from your lives. So when I do this talk, I think of my friend David Tate, who was a professor here for many years, and he was killed in an auto accident. And I'm not showing a photograph of him right now. I wonder if I could find one real fast. I didn't think about that. Because I do want you to show a photograph of, let's see, RSU Prof. David Tate. Let's see if we get an image of him somewhere. And yeah, that's good. Let's put the screen on. There's Dr. Tate. And the reason I want to share his image is because, well, let's get rid of all this other stuff. We don't want the paywall or any of that stuff. Go away. Go away. We'll try this one. I'll just leave that picture up there for a second. So you see Dr. Tate here on the right, RSU professor. And there's a couple other pictures of him on here. Picture of him just in his baseball hat. So come back to me, if you would, Danilo. Okay. So Dr. Tate was a history professor here, and we were commuting buddies. And so I live in Stillwater, is where my main home is, and it's about a 90-minute drive from here. And he lived just east of Stillwater, so I'd drive out to his place, hop in his car, or he'd hop in my car. We'd drive to Claremore, talk, go all the way back. So we spent thousands of hours in the car together. And he was an extremely conservative person, politically and religiously, whereas I'm completely not. I'm a very liberal person, which to me means open-minded and open to new ideas. However, we never really had arguments. We never had an argument because we were able to talk to one another about our different opinions intellectually using facts without being threatened by those facts. And we had a lot of really eye-opening conversations. And because he was a devout person, he was an Orthodox religious, or Greek Orthodox Christian. And I mentioned them early on. That's kind of how I learned about them, which I didn't really know about the Greek Orthodox. Those are the first Christians. And sorry, one of our students isn't here to hear some of this because it'd be good for him if he's watching on TV today. But the Orthodox Christians are very close adherents to their perception of the original Christian way. And so he was a teacher, but he also had a particular mission. And he would go and preach once a month to a sex offender. It's kind of a halfway house parking, trailer park. So this was set up, it's in north central Oklahoma, it's away from a town. It's a trailer park that when sex offenders get out of prison, they have to go live in this place for X amount of time before they can go back into society. And no minors nor women are allowed in this trailer park. We typically think of sex offenders as the lowest of the low. They're right there with whatever other heinous thing you can come up with, whether it's just whatever it is, they're right down there. So Dr. Tate felt that they were the most important for him to try to get to. That's what he believed. So yes, most of society considers them outcasts and the lowest of the low. But what he felt was he needed to go there once a month and bring them his message and work with them and counsel them. Free, volunteer, by the way. So it was a prison outreach program that he volunteered to be part of. So it tells you a little bit about him. Really conservative politically, very conservative religiously, but he felt it was his personal mission to work with the lowest of the low. I always respected that. So around Thanksgiving time, they had a Thanksgiving dinner, but women and children can't go over here in the trailer park, so on the other side of the highway, they had a building that was their meeting facility, an administrative facility where family members, the guys could come across the street and meet. So that's where they were going to have their meal. So Dr. Tate, being a traditional Greek Orthodox priest, wore his frock, which looks kind of close cropped at the top, and at the bottom it comes out and it's sort of a flowy, almost not a dress, but kind of a gown type thing, right? But all black. The only white on him was the little B collar piece right up here. So what had happened was it was Thanksgiving, so sun goes down faster, and it was just getting dark. And he was wearing that black outfit, and he was carrying food that his wife had made from his car across the highway to this building so they could have their meal. Young person, high school kid, not on their phone, that was all proven, coming south, and it was so dark they couldn't see him. So smacked right into him, killed him dead instantly. Just lights out kind of thing. So it was, traumatic for me because he's a very close friend of mine, kind of older brother type. He's about 10 years older. And since I'm the oldest of 5, I don't have an older brother. So, with regard to that, I got a lot of good information from him and a lot of good times with him. So it was devastating emotionally for me, but then I think about the family and all of that. But then I think about talking about him as a lesson. Here's a guy whose life ended before it should have. So what's his legacy? His legacy is one of service, of a symbol of recognizing that there are people who are the lowest of the low, but what about them? You may have heard the phrase that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if there's some part of our society that is weak, it ultimately is bringing us all down. And so his concept of service was is a big deal to me. And so as you think about the people you're going to talk about, I want you to think about people who've gone through things. So here's a person who died essentially for what he believed in. Now, he wasn't shot in combat, and he wasn't a political prisoner who was tortured for just being himself. He died in service to other people. And there's no more Christian thing if you're in that Christian world. That's it. That's the ultimate symbol, is you're willing to give it all up for everybody else or the good of other people. So let's go back to our screen for a second. So what I just did essentially was gave you a story of this person that I know who died in good service to people. And what I want you to think about is how then that applies to everybody else. So I was able to broaden it to the larger message, which was to stay in service to people. So when we do this talk, which will start on Thursday and what is this? Is this Wednesday? Okay, so it's next Monday and Wednesday. I'm going to send a sheet around, and what I want you to do is sign up for either Monday or Wednesday. See who wants to do which. And what you're going to do is bring a photograph. On your phone is fine, and we'll just put it over here, or if you want to print it out or however you want to do it. What I'm having my prior students do is send me all their images, and then I'm putting together a little PowerPoint so we can just advance through it. But with this bunch, just bring your own, is what I'm going to say. It's probably the best way to organize it. So as we go through this, who are we talking about here? Well, think about the important people of your life. Maybe one of your folks has really gone through some stuff and taught you a lot as a result of that, and now you're going forward and you could learn from them. Maybe your grandparents. I didn't put great-grandparents on here, but maybe you've got a great-grandparent who's still around, or you got to experience life with them. And they taught you some things. Maybe you had a teacher who was impactful to you through time. Pastors also go through all kinds of stuff. It's stressful to be a pastor because you're dealing with everybody's issues all the time. But sometimes they can be very, very helpful. Just your close friends. I didn't put siblings up here, but some people will choose a sibling. A sister or a brother who's just really important to them. But also a friend who sticks with you all the time, who's been through a lot, who's always there for you, and provides you some inspiration. Maybe you had a coach at one point or another who went a little bit extra for you, did a little bit more. And so you want to talk about them. Or any other role model that you might come up with. It's pretty wide open. But as I mentioned before, I would prefer somebody you've actually interacted with. We are all inspired by larger-than-life figures. And in my own world, I've gotten to meet a lot of really significant people and impressive people, and so I thought about bringing them in. But just because you meet somebody famous doesn't mean you're friends with them. You may think you're kind of friends with them because of your little association, but what is, we say you can count your best friends on what? One hand. I mean, these are your real friends here, ride or dies, who you can tell anything and you won't get judged. The people that you really depend on. Now, you meet some famous person, you're not going to start pouring your heart out about all your challenges and issues, right? But think about somebody that you've met and you've seen them go through some stuff, and then they've come out on the other end of it. And I told you my RuPaul story, right? You know the RuPaul story? So, helped RuPaul out at a time when he didn't have anything. Offered him a place to sleep. Now, millionaire, Emmy winner, international star of the screens. All screens. Phones, film, TV, whatever. So he pursued his dreams and was relentless about it, but really came from nowhere to get there. He just stuck with it. And so that's inspiring to me, that he was just another kid who had big dreams and visions for himself and fulfilled them. So we're going to follow the same outline that we followed on a lot of our speeches. We need an attention getter, something that's going to bring us in. And then you're going to tell us a little bit about just who this person is. Today I'm going to talk to you about my grandpa. talk to you about my best friend, talk to you about my mom, talk to you about my high school softball coach. I'm going to talk to you about a doctor I had one time who made a difference in my life. Then we will stick with the thesis. And remember what the thesis does. This is important for all your classes and for the rest of your life. It's a topic plus an opinion. And the way that you organize that is with some controlling ideas. This really is rhetoric. Rhetoric just means how we organize our speech for effective communication. When you used to take Comp 1, it used to be composition and rhetoric. Because it's not just the writing, it's how you arrange the writing. Rhetoric literally comes from the Greek rhetor, to speak. And it really meant how you speak, not what you sound like, but how you organize your speech. And so if you can keep this thesis thing in your head, it will serve you well for a long time. Topic plus opinion plus controlling ideas. Speech, as a class, is very important for developing professionals because it teaches you how to present yourself, it teaches you how to organize your information, and it teaches you various strategies for communicating information so that it's most effective. That's a thesis. Topic plus opinion. We see them in sports all the time. Shea Alexander should be the MVP of the NBA. That's a thesis. Because the opinion is he should be. Controlling ideas, Thunder victories, points per game, whatever a third thing would be. So that happens all the time. But you also do that to your friends and folks. We should go here because of A, B, and C. I'm the most qualified person for this job because of A, B, and C. And you're going to get out there in those job interview worlds, and you need to be able to express yourself clearly. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about that I'm hope you're learning in some of your other classes about interviewing and presenting yourself. And it's not so much about what you know, it's not whether or not they like you or not, is what that comes down to hiring searches a lot. You have to have a basic level of skills that the organization needs, but do they like you? Do they see you as a fit in their organization? Is important. The body will learn about the background of the person, a little bit about them, where they're from, where they grew up, when they were born, and then some challenges that they faced. And that's your challenge, is to come up with somebody that has gone through some stuff that you learn from. Some achievements after you get through their challenge story, some achievements, what have they accomplished? You know, they were the, I've seen so many of these. I really enjoy these talks, by the way. And I've seen some they're all good, actually. I enjoy watching people talk about other people. But their impact and legacy, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bunch of awards or having a building named after them or anything like that. But what impact did they have on your family, for example? On you? What's their legacy as far as you see it? And then, like we do in all speeches, we restate our primary thing. You know, my grandfather was very important to me because of X, Y, and Z. And then that final closing thought that you're going to have, that encouragement. What do we learn from all this? What's our takeaway? How do we apply your admiration for this particular person to our own lives? How are we going to go forward? And that's why the RuPaul story is real easy for me, because poor, no place to stay, sleeping on a friend's floor, to ultimate commercial and pop culture and life success, really. So let's keep going here. Visual aids. We want to make sure that you have something that really gives us some insight into this person. Now, maybe all you might have is just a photo that you're able to find on Facebook. That's fine. I had someone do a talk about an elementary school teacher that was really important to them. And that elementary school teacher was deceased now and was not really part of the Facebook era and all of that. So they had to really dig, but they ultimately found one photo of this woman who was their teacher in the 3rd grade that made such an impact on them. And so that's the image that we saw. So you want to pull something out that's going to tell us a story. So what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about my son, who's 30 years old now, and this picture was taken when he was about 3. And my son was born with what's known as amniotic band syndrome. And what that is when the fetus is inside of the amniotic sac can shred and develop spaghetti-like strands that can wrap around the extremities of the little baby inside and cut off the circulation. And so that's what happened to my son, is he had little bands around his both wrists and his ankles. Because the baby's in there swirling around, you get caught on one of those things and it snags. Some cases are horrible in that literally it can change the shape of the head or limit the head. If it's around the neck, it can choke the baby to death. It can, whole arms won't come out. So what my son had was anomalies in his, or what are also known as birth defects, in his fingers and his toes. And so this was a big event. You know, you're going to have a child and all of a sudden they come out and it's like, whoa, now we got a whole bunch of other issues to deal with. And what are those? Surgeries. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. We wanted to encourage him to use his hands and not be self-conscious of them. Well, he obviously was, because they looked different than everybody else. Like my attention getter, if I'd done it right, if I'd opened up, said, how many of you have ever broken a finger? And how easy was it to operate with a broken finger? It's not easy to operate with a broken finger. Well, now imagine missing parts of your fingers. Well, that's essentially what he's had to deal with. So early on, we were encouraged to get him to do things with his hands so he'd learn how to compensate. And so, of course, since I play guitar and I was excited to pass one on to him, got him a little kid guitar. And it was one of his first real prized possessions. Here he's like 2, 3, something like that. And so pretty soon he started watching videos of people playing guitar and he would play along with them. Next thing you know, he's like doing songs and he was like a little kid doing songs. So it gave him a sense of belonging and accomplishment. And also people enjoyed the way he sang, so it added even more positive encouragement to him. But he still had to go through all these surgeries. And we went to the Shriners Hospital in Shreveport. He was born right down here at the Indian Hospital. He's a Muskogee Creek citizen. And instantly they said, you need to contact the Shriners. And if you don't know what the Shriners do, and I add this message on, they provide free surgery and care to children that have either birth defects or are serious burn victims, and it's free. So when you see them driving around their fun little cars in the parade, or you see them selling onions out on the side of the street, that's what you're giving money to, is the Shriners hospitals that offer free care. And it's not, and that's the thing, it's free. And so I learned about them through this whole process, but I also learned about resilience through my son. He went through several surgeries on his hands. They had to split his fingers apart. See how they're kind of separated now? They had to split them apart and use skin from down around here to put on his hands to make the flesh come back. And then he had to have surgeries on both of his ankles and open those up and turn those ankles back out. But he just smiled his way through the whole thing. It was just amazing. You know, I would be a much bigger baby if I had to go through all that stuff. But being a little kid, you don't know what's normal. So for him, it's just his normal world. So we continued encouraging him. And so the picture on the left is him probably about age 5 or 6, growing into his style. And then the one on the right is maybe a couple of years ago when he's playing out. So he still plays out, plays guitar, sings, goes around. He's just a real fun person to watch. And I didn't put Chaos up there. He'd be mad about this right now. Luckily, he can't see it. But he calls himself Chaos, K.O.S.S., because that's how he kind of feels about the way his life has gone and the way it is. And now he's about 30. He just turned 30. And this is a picture of him in what I call his rock and roll clothes. This was at a studio in Tulsa where we recorded an album of his. And so here's a guy who was born missing parts of his fingers and toes. So that limited him immediately as far as what he could do physically. but he transcended that. And now when he plays guitar, he creates a unique sound because his fingers are shaped differently than all of ours. So he can reach things in ways that I can't. And because he spent so much time on it, he's a really good singer. And he's a really good guitar player now. And so his physical limitations did not ultimately hold him down. But that's not all he does. And I want to share this with you, if it'll all work right. My browser's up to date. Let's see if it'll all work. Yeah. Okay, so we'll put this up here. Let's just go full screen on this for now. So early on, I didn't have pictures of him as a child drumming, but he has been a powwow drummer essentially his entire life. He's Muskogee Creek, which are not typically powwow people, but he grew up out in Stillwater around a lot of Plains people, and as a result of that, Plains people use the big drum as part of their powwow environment. And so he knows his Muskogee ways, ceremonial ways, church ways, but he's also been part of this powwow world for this whole time. Now what you see here is the drum group Full Metal Jacket. And the studio that he was in a minute ago, that's where they recorded, was at Teagarden Studios in Tulsa. And Teagarden is a well-known studio there. And so I took him in August or September it was. So if you go online, you can look up Full Metal Jacket. And we just released their album about 2 weeks ago. And it's powwow songs. So here you see him on the right here in this blue shirt with the hat with the A on it. And he's next to the leader who's kind of looking down here. So he's basically the second man of this group, meaning he's the instant second voice and or he leads a lot of songs. And so I'm going to play a little bit of this for you. It's the real world of Indian country. A little volume. There we go. Share that with you, and I'll come back to me if you would. So in the context of all this, I'm inspired by my son. He's had physical issues that he's had to overcome. He is also mixed race, and mixed race people have a little extra challenge in our society. Not only that, if you're a lighter skinned native person, you have challenges there, trying to fit in sometimes. So a lot of things go on with him, but he fits in. And he does a lot of things that are just really impressive to me. They travel the country and sing. They were in Colorado and Utah a couple weeks ago, up in the Black Hills, and we're getting ready to go into the powwow season of graduation, powwows, princess powwows, that kind of thing, and then all the tribal powwows start around Memorial Day weekend and go all the way to Labor Day. So every weekend they're out there doing something somewhere. And he works to support his art, but hasn't really found his professional stride yet. He just works enough to fund his lifestyle so he can go sing at powwows. That's what he wants to do. And it's not for me to say what he should do. You know, when you have an adult child, it's, I love you, I believe in you, call me if you need me. And that's about all you can do, you know, at a certain point. And they will call. But you know what it usually has to do with? Ahongya, as the Kiowas say, money. No, I'm just kidding a little bit. So, with regard to a talk, that's why visuals are so important to you. And just these final tips and takeaways are practicing. That's what they're really about. Give this thing a shot. Whoever you're doing this for will appreciate it. Not only that, it's going to be recorded and it'll be up on YouTube and you can share it with them. And I think that they would like that as well, to be able to see it. And as I've said throughout the semester, you want to practice a little bit. That way you're ready when you get in here. You don't have to read too much. You want to talk to us about it. So I didn't use any notes to talk about my son because I know the story. I've been with him the whole way. But what's really important is for you to get to that point where you're doing a professional delivery on any subject, whether it's your son or whether it's the importance of college education or whether it's why you should get your pet spayed and neutered or who should be the MVP of the league or why international students should be able to work, any of those things. You want to be able to present that clearly. So come back to me. And the thing that we need to do now before we get too much further, we only have about 17 minutes left, is I want to pass around a sheet of paper. And what I want you to do is, now there's only 3, 5, 7, 9, 10 of you here today. And it'll be interesting to see how many people are left in the class. We started out with 20. Now I think we're down to about 12 or 13. And we've had some issues. Some people have had issues in this class. And that's one of the things, it's not with this class, but students have had life issues in this class. Things happen, and they're going to keep happening. And there's no way to avoid it. Life just keeps coming after you. So we'll go Monday and Wednesday. And I think there's only, let's see how many people are left. As I mentioned, this was the first time that we've taught this class on TV like this. It was really an experiment. But I'm gonna do it again in the fall because let's keep working on it and see how I can improve it. But I think it's a really unique opportunity for students, but it was a little heavy for a few. So you don't have a theater background. Maybe you're not comfortable just getting up in front of everybody. I'm saying you have a theater background, that's what I meant. So and some people are more comfortable than others. And some people just stick with it. And I could talk about each one of you, but I'm not going to go that direction at this point. I could. You may not know this, but I practice your names when I'm driving. This is something like, this is a senior teacher thing because I want to remember everybody. And so I go around in my head and I'm like, okay, Veda, Haley, Kennedy, Athena's back there. There's Aiden, Texas, Caitlin, Matt, Ryan, Granger. Yay. That's the senior brain in action, trying to, survive all of this. So let's go. This is important person talk. But yeah, we had a few, like a couple, if you remember early on in the semester, we had a couple of people get up here, they were really flashy and talking and really kind of acting up and not really knowing what they're doing. And then I remember I had to get on these girls here. I don't know who they were, but they've been long gone. And it's like once that happened, they're out of here. It's just how it goes sometimes. Okay, so Haley, Kennedy, Athena, Texas, Tyler, Juliana, Laura, Carolyn, Aiden's still here, Granger, Matt, Veda, Caitlin, Ryan. I'm gonna go 13 or 14. So let's go 7. Let's see if we can get 7 each day. That means these things have to be under 5 minutes without a doubt. 5 minutes or under. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Same over here. 5, 6, 7. And I'll just go this way first. So just pass it around. And if something happens, and there's only 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we'll see how it shakes down. If you absolutely have to go on the Monday or Wednesday, we'll work that out. Save a... Granger, don't you have to go on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see they're fine on Wednesday, so you're going to have a space there. Looks like we'll be good. Granger's back to New Zealand for the summer. You coming back in the fall?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so let's just do a little quick research. Carolyn, who are you going to talk to us about?
I'm going to talk to you about my mom.
About your mom? Okay. And you have something special about her that you're going to bring to us?
She is just an incredibly resilient woman,
Okay,
very inspiring.
good. All right, that sounds good. Matt, who are you going to talk about?
I'm not for sure yet, I'm debating.
Thinking about it?
Yeah.
Texas?
I think my mom.
Think your mom? Okay. Well, good. How about you guys, Haley?
My dad.
He retired 20 years from the Navy, so
Okay.
there's a lot to talk about with him.
Yeah, I would think so. Beta? Your mom? All right. I look forward to hearing about her. What are you gonna highlight about her?
Probably a lot of her accomplishments that
Mhm.
she's had, and her job now.
Mhm.
Her, so.
Sure. Good. Yeah, she's doing a lot of good things. Kennedy?
Probably my great grandma.
Great grandma. She's still living?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You got a picture and everything?
Yeah.
Does she have anything in history that pops out at you?
A bunch of drama.
Bunch of drama?
Family lore.
Good, let's hear it. We want the drama. Bring it. Okay, Athena, what do you say?
My cousin,
Okay? Do they live here or beyond? What's that?
he passed away.
Oh, he passed away. Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. But still inspiring to you though.
Yeah, he's the one who gave me the idea of go study abroad.
Okay, good, good. We'll look forward to hearing about that. Hayden?
I'm gonna talk about my brother.
Okay,
We grew up together and kind of, it's just cool seeing the way that he's grown into his own person and the way that he's committed to his faith and athletics. And the ways that he challenges me to be better by just kind of, moving linearly,
mm-hmm,
moving forward.
okay, that sounds good. Good. Caitlin?
Definitely my mom. She has a really interesting, she's had a really rough life and she just keeps shining through, so
Okay,
she's cool.
keeps on going. Matt?
Probably my mom.
Mom?
Yeah.
Anything stick out about her to you?
She moved to a brand new place with me and my brother when we were really young. And my
Mhm.
dad was gone a lot, so
Oh,
that was really cool.
yeah, good. Ryan?
Either my high school coach or my grandpa.
Okay, one of the two. What about the coach sticks out to you?
She's just pretty inspiring person to me personally.
Okay,
She's pushed me and my teammates, my former teammates, to be better people.
the high school?
Yeah.
Okay, which high school?
Eaton High School, it's way down in Texas.
Way down in Texas. Okay, interesting. Granger?
Don't know, one of my parents. I'll probably do a coin toss.
A coin
To see who
One of the two?
wants it the most.
Right? Which one do you want to see it when you get back home?
I want to say my mum because my dad only texts me like once a month. Clearly, she cares more about me.
Clearly. You can use that to tease. Say, well, if you just text me more than once a month, then I might have done you.
Exactly.
Okay, good. All right, well, all those sound really positive. Where are we? We got 11 minutes left. Want to air anything out? Okay, did I mention Word Girl in here yet?
Word girl?
Yeah. do
Like
you
the
know?
PBS show?
Yeah, the PBS Kids Show. Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Everybody know what Word Girl is? You familiar with it? Okay, I just learned about this recently. Carolyn, you heard of Word Girl? Okay. Well, Word Girl is a superhero that uses her vocabulary to overcome her adversaries, and it's a PBS Kids show. And I didn't know about this until I had a student that I did bring up before because she reminded me of Carolyn a little bit, in that she was kind of a contrarian and a quick one. So quick-witted, but contrarian. Just take that opposite side real fast. And so she was doing her talk and she said that we were talking about who we could talk about, and she goes, well, my childhood hero is Nokan, the contrarian. And I was like, what is that? And Nokan, the contrarian, is the bad guy in Word Girl. So whatever Word Girl says, Nokan, the contrarian, says exactly the opposite thing, because that's his deal, is to always be the opposite. So I didn't know anything about this show. I don't know when it even started or how long ago it came out. It's old, right?
Yeah.
Well, so my son, he's 30, so he wasn't around when this show was. We were more like Barney, era. So that's my new favorite show is Word Girl. I watched a whole episode just to see what was going on with it. It is a kid's show, but the fact that it's based on a superhero with a strong vocabulary and that's how she overcomes her adversaries, I just thought that was great.
Wait till you hear about Martha Speaks.
What's that?
Wait till you hear about Martha Speaks.
Martha Speaks?
Yeah.
Is she a character in there?
Different show.
Oh, different show.
Yeah.
See, I'm just way behind on my youthful pop culture, educational pop culture.
What about SpongeBob?
SpongeBob I'm aware of. You know, one thing I learned about SpongeBob, people that watched him growing up tend to have pretty fast, kind of cynical, acerbic, or sharp wits because there's so much so much quick stuff going on in there. You have to listen really closely, and a lot of back and forth jokes and really humorous comments. So a lot of it is kind of almost adult themed if you interpret it that way. So
I think it's kind of inappropriate.
kind of inappropriate for kids?
Sometimes.
Well, that's just it, is it like leans on that edge. So, but I can remember when that, like, for a long time we didn't have cable or any kind of anything. It was just PBS and that was it. So we went on a little vacation one time, just my son and myself, and we were in this hotel and had Cartoon Network. SpongeBob came on and he just like, it was like he was seeing clouds part, the sun come out. It was like his new reality was SpongeBob. So, okay, what else? Where are we? 8 minutes? How do you want to burn off this last 8 minutes? See, we can't just let you go because we're on TV here. You can always watch a speech or something, but I'm just seeing what we have going on. Semester's almost over. Caitlin?
Would you have let us do like our dog or something?
Could you do your dog as an inspiring person?
Yeah. My dog finds like the little things in life that makes him happy. He's been through the same thing.
No, we already had the opportunity for the pets through the process analysis. Here's why having a pet is important.
That's true.
That kind of thing. And a pet's, I mean, I don't want to insult anybody, but I mean, it's not really a person.
Hey, back off though.
It's touchy territory. It's not really a person though, but can be very inspiring. And as I said the other day in class, I was really inspired by the cats eating with people and how important that is to the cats. That was a new thing I'd seen. Anything else that we've seen recently? To break out TikTok and find out the most interesting things happening in the world right now?
The Pope died on Easter.
What's that?
The Pope died on Easter.
The Pope died,
Right
yeah.
after meeting J.D.
After
Vance.
telling J.D. Vance that he was needed to work on his compassion a little bit. We'll just be friendly on that. Heard about that, right? So,
On Easter, I wonder if it was a coincidence.
I think he'll be back. What day is it?
the
Yeah,
funny,
right? Yeah, give it a couple of.
the funny memes where he went to talk to HR about Vance is basically it. Meaning he went up to heaven to talk to the
he's
big
like, "Hey,
guys.
man."
Oh,
Take care of
man.
this. So, there's a lot of funny things happening politically. We don't really have to go down that track, but it's interesting to watch that all the way around. And some sad and scary things. I was thinking about Beto here and your talk about being native and all, and, you know, all that goes along with that. And now the Department of Interior's, you know, DOJ is going through it now. And so people in Indian country are really concerned about that, like what's going to get cut and how's that going to change. So they already opened up something known as Oak Flats, which is an Apache piece of land, which also has a copper reserve underneath it. And so for the Apaches, it's an important piece of land, but for the developers, it's an important copper site. And that's going to be the next native clash is between the Apache out there in Arizona and the corporate and government concerns that want to mine that copper. Why do they need copper? Because they want to make stuff that we don't make here. And that's the next challenge. And for all of you, the whole AI thing is moving really fast. Now, 2 years ago, people looked at me kind of cross-eyed about it, and or they were scared of it, or they didn't want to even deal with it. And now it's almost unavoidable. And so I think that that's something that's been really interesting to watch evolve is ChatGPT or whatever other AI that you're using. And we're having to deal with that in the school now because every professor has to add an AI policy to their syllabus. How can it be used? How can you use it? And so for me, as an outline, that's a perfect thing. But even if it writes something for you, all that's good, but you need to be able to go in there and see if all that stuff's factual or how is it written well or how is it not written well. I was talking to our anthropology professor and how the folks in science are using it to crunch numbers essentially, to put data into and getting it to extrapolate concepts from that data. So let's put a big spreadsheet of data into ChatGPT, and now let's ask it a question about that data, and it can crunch it real fast. And so those kinds of things are going on as well. But here in the US, the challenge is we don't have the skilled labor to build iPhones. Can't do it. We can't build televisions here because all that's been farmed out. And it's not because of cheap labor. And that's one of the things that's really important to think about as you choose your careers. What do you want to do? All these contracts and stuff that were sent to China, for example, to have all this stuff built, it's not because the labor costs are cheaper, because the labor costs aren't cheaper. It's just they're more skilled. We don't have the science skills that they have in China. So that's why we need the copper, so we can put them into stuff that we can build here. But we don't make computers here, we don't make phones here, we don't make televisions here, all that's gone. So what I encourage always is if you're thinking about a career, you should be looking at AI and what it's gonna do to your career, how it's gonna help, or, you know, you can't just be a bookkeeper anymore, because AI can be a bookkeeper. And as far as being an attorney, you could potentially be an attorney, but AI is taking some of these attorney jobs away. Why? Because it's got all law databases in its storage. And we just had in Stillwater, you know, that's where my home is. They're building a new Google data place there, and it's specifically because of all this AI. That's gonna be a big warehouse type size thing, and already the housing addition across the street, they have this pond, and all the fish died in it. And so they're like, wait a minute, what happened? They started all this construction, all our fish died. So you've got modern technology moving really fast, and you've got the natural environment that is gonna have to respond to this. Excuse me, it takes a lot of water, for example, to cool everything that runs all this AI stuff. And so it's gonna be really interesting to see how technology evolves. You know, there's a Google server farm over in Pryor, right? So that's one that's there. And that was the old Gatorade plant that they converted into that. And it's a major source of revenue for Pryor. That's why they don't, their schools do really well there, because they get a lot of money from the Google plant. All right, what's that?
I made stickers for them.
You made stickers?
Yeah.
For the Google plant? Oh, all right.
Yeah, because they have a machine that people kept licking. And
Kept
it's-
licking?
Licking. And so they needed stickers that were like, hey, stop. So I made stickers that are like, don't lick it.
Don't lick this machine?
Botron, yeah.
What was it?
The Botron.
The Botron?
It depletes all the static electricity, because they have a whole room of servers that's really sensitive to static electricity. So they have a machine that they like test and deplete it, but instead of just doing the test, they've been licking it and like doing it.
Huh.
Yeah. These are
That's
Google
kinda
employees.
strange.
Yes.
All right, well, since we have a couple more minutes here, any other questions about the speech that you have? We've got 1:35 left. Let's just see what the big stories of the day are. Something to do with 60 Minutes and its problems. You all heard about the tariffs. We're all having to deal with that. Let's see, macho and anti-woke. UFC is haven for MAGA mindset. The UFC. What else do we have? Who's gonna be the next pope? The cardinal from Africa who conservatives want. A lot of people felt the previous pope was too liberal because he was so inclusive. Let's see what else we have here. Why Hegseth's wife won't let him out of sight. Sounds kind of gossipy. Woman posed as immigration agent to detain ex-boyfriend's wife. Kind of kooky. 5-minute EV charging is here, but not for US made cars. The 19 richest families made $1 trillion last year. Good for them. Inside the trailer park boom. Demand through the roof for trailer parks. Why is that?
Housing interest.
It's cheap, probably is what I would say. Pete Hegseth has ordered a makeup studio in the Pentagon. Okay, come back to me. We just have 15 seconds left. That's Secretary of Defense. Wants a makeup studio so we can look good for his interviews. All right, well, that's enough for today. We're gonna come back next Monday. Who's got my sign-up sheet? Okay, back here. All right, so you know what you have to do. We'll see you on Monday. And we'll look forward to the first talk.
Are you kidding?
Then.